Thank you very much. Once again, just here to talk about our project in Madagascar. For those of you who have little or any knowledge on graphite, it's a very unique material, very essential. It's a very complicated market, but it's a huge opportunity. And again, there's a couple of graphite presentations tonight. I think after tonight you'll understand the immense opportunity that graphite has been. It's been a very hot commodity in the last couple of years, and again, it has not lost a lot of its luster. So once again, Energizer, one of the most advanced graphite projects in the world. We have completed a robust preliminary economic assessment just in November of last year. We've completed a full-scale pilot plant. We generated 12 tons of finished concentrate. That concentrate has now been sent out to potential strategic partners. We're waiting for those results back in the next 60 to 90 days. We've initiated our bankable feasibility study just last week. And again, our focus right now is 100% on mine development. We are not interested in selling this project, polishing the apple. We intend to be graphite miners. So why graphite? Over 180 plus applications in the world depend upon graphite. Products you use every single day. It is a very unique material. It's the only material in the world that gets stronger as it gets hotter. So again, it's very essential to things we use every day, particularly though in the steel industry, consumer electronics, and automotive. You would not be able to do these things today if it was not for graphite. Graphite is right now listed as a critical mineral status, both in the United States and the European Union. It is now first time ever ranked in the top 10. It's ranks number 9. You can see it's above lithium, above platinum group elements. And particularly scary on this chart to those nations outside of China is China controls right now 10 of the top minerals in terms, 9 of the top minerals in terms of critical status, and in terms of its reserves, the top 8. So again, China, no surprise, controlling a lot of the most important elements in the world. So graphite, not all graphite is alike. There's actually 3 main types of graphite. Really, there's only 2 worth talking about because they really control most of the market, and that is flake graphite and what's other called is amorphous graphite. So the graphite, total natural graphite market's about 1 million tons per year. About 55% of that is the flake. The flake is the type that you want. That's the higher value. It's the higher purity. It's the most premium priced. The amorphous is what you use for pencils, for example, carbon brushes, lubricants, brake pads, etc. So the key here is flake graphite is the most desirable form. How graphite is priced, the larger the flake, the higher the purity, the more you get for it. In terms of the pricing for graphite, a lot of the excitement that was in graphite about 2 years ago when it hit its all-time highs, about $3,000 per ton for what's called large flake graphite at about a purity of about 94 to 97%. Those numbers have come off. Prices of graphite have dropped, but they're still at 2 times their previous lows. And you can see on the right-hand side roughly what you get for a price per ton for graphite. So usually what the graphite's priced at is large flake, about $1,350 per ton. Flake graphite, again, is the required form of graphite that can go to all applications that require graphite. And it is the most desired market for today and going forward for mostly high-tech applications. Let me tell you a little bit about the top 3 offtakes for graphite. Number 1, the steel industry, about 40%. It's used as a refractory, so it's a lining for crucibles, has a very high melting temperature, 3,600 degrees. It's essential for steel making. This is the largest market, will continue to be the largest market. I'll talk about why that may be superseded, growing very healthily. And again, synthetic graphite cannot be used for this industry, so it's all natural large flake graphite. Number 2 use for that is batteries. So about 9% of total graphite goes towards batteries. Almost all battery chemistries involve graphite in some way, shape, or form, especially lithium batteries. And again, you may have heard this, that graphite factor, about 11 times more graphite in a lithium battery than there is lithium. Right now, the excitement around the graphite is with the potential of electric vehicles. You can see how much graphite is in one of these vehicles. Electric vehicles, about 90 pounds. Hybrids, about 22 pounds. So you can just imagine the demand and the offtake potential when these things start to come online. And again, when you look at what's going on with synthetic and graphite and batteries, natural flake graphite is the only form of graphite that competes with synthetic graphite. You cannot use amorphous graphite. You've probably heard of vein or lump graphite and hydrothermal brecciated graphite. None of these forms have been shown to be used for battery. And again, you must have a medium size. You must have a flake size of at least medium size. Then the third end market for graphite is what's known as specialty or expanded graphite. Those are graphite foils. These graphite foils right now are the fastest growing market for graphite, exponential growth expected. Every single consumer electronics, iPad, iPhone, solar panel relies on a thin sheet of graphite. What does it do? It acts as a heat sink. So in your iPhone, your BlackBerry, if you did not have that sheet of graphite in there, it would get extremely hot in your ear. So these now, our sheets are coming into the graphite consumer electronics. It's been probably about 5 years since these have started to penetrate the market. Again, explosive growth expected. So here's an example of how that's going on. Here's one company that is a very large multinational company, one of the largest synthetic graphite producers in the world. The company's called GraphTech. It's based in Ohio. They launched a foil division about 5 years ago with almost no sales. Today, that billion-dollar company, Graphite Foils, again, natural graphite, represents about 40% of its bottom line. And it estimates in the next 5 years to be 50% of its bottom line. So again, they're predicting limitless growth. That picture you see is the back of a 50-inch LG panel plasma television. That's a big sheet of graphite. So the future demand for flake graphite is very strong. You've seen all these particular technologies, fuel cells, vanadium redox batteries, pebble bed nuclear reactors. All of these future technologies take tremendous amounts of graphite. And again, it's all natural flake graphite to go into these technologies. You've probably heard of graphene at this point. Graphene is going to be they call it the wonder product of graphite. It will revolutionize the world. The question is when. Natural flake graphite, if you delayer that down to a single layer, that is graphene. Graphene is the lightest, strongest, thinnest material ever measured in existence. You can see the properties there. But right now, a lot of the controversy around that is when is this market going to manifest? It is at least a decade away, according to experts we've talked to in the graphene industry. But again, it's something that if it does manifest, natural flake graphite has a perfect opportunity for it. So to our Molo project, we have the right graphite, we are all flake, we have very high quality, and we have a very large and very scalable project. So we're located in Madagascar. If you're not familiar with Madagascar, it's the island off the east coast on the right-hand side of Africa. Madagascar right now houses two very large billion-dollar projects, Sherritt's nickel project, as well as Rio Tinto has an ilmenite sands. We are located where the yellow star is. We are in the southern part. We are not near the rainforest. There's existing ports, and we were very, very close to the area, and there's a lot of development now happening in Madagascar, especially in the south. Our location, very key. Just so serendipitously happens that Madagascar is located very close to the top 4 graphite producing and demand markets for graphite. Obviously India, China, but the finishing markets, the battery markets all really reside in Korea and Japan. So we're an excellent location to those key markets. This is our project. So you can see, if you're expecting to see lemurs and lots of wildlife, you'll be greatly disappointed with our project. Very flat, perfect situation for us, low population density, almost no wildlife. We brought out a PEA study, as I mentioned, November, very robust. You can see the numbers, about 3-year payback, very healthy IRR, very good generation of MPV, about $421 million, and again, using operating costs about $418, and again, these are not optimized numbers. These PEA was done before we actually did our pilot plant, and we have now enhanced these numbers considerably. For example, our recovery of graphite of 89% we used for this P study has now jumped to about 95-96% recoveries from the pilot plant, and we'll be bringing those results out to the market in within about a month. So that P study was generated from our very large 43101 compliant resource. Again, this is one of the largest all-flake deposits in the world, 125 million tons, grading roughly about 6.5%. And again, right now, if you look at what that means in terms of this actual area of our project, that resource sits in 500 meters by 300 meters. We have currently confirmed over 320 kilometers of continuous graphite on our property. So we have no shortage of graphite. All continuous, all at surface, no overburden, open at strike, and open along depth. And you can see this is an example of one of the trenches that goes right through our deposit, immediately at surface. Very flat, very grassy, very easy open pit mining. So with graphite, unlike other projects and other minerals, grade is not king, metallurgy is. It's all about the quality of your flake. So as I said before, how graphite's a very simple process. Our process for generating and making our graphite is very simple. You crush it, you grind it, you wash it, other words called flotation, dry it, bag it, and ship it. It's that simple. If you have a project, it's generally understood that if you can achieve a 94% purity carbon with just simple processing, you have a competitive advantage amongst all the graphite projects out there. Right now, you can see Molo, we can achieve almost 97% purity with simple, basic processing, and almost half of our project is what's called large and extra large flake. And you can see about 23% medium, about 30% small flake. So the larger the flake, the higher the purity, the more premium price you get. So that's a very, very good flake distribution for us. Also, in terms of metallurgy, all our metallurgical results have been done. It's been optimized. It's been proven. We have very high quality flake. Madagascar has always been known to have one of the highest quality flakes in the world. Ours is no exception. We have excellent flake structure, which is critical for going to batteries. Excellent expansion, which is what you need to make the foils. You actually blow up the flake about 500 times, roll it into a sheet, and then put it in the back of your iPhones. Easily upgradable. 100% of our project can be upgraded to 99.9%, which is battery grade, and we've also tested for any contaminants to battery, and we have none that are an issue. So steps to a battery grade. We intend when we open our mine to be a value added, so we're just not making graphite. We intend to produce it so that it can go into batteries, and that's something we're looking at and doing as part of our bankable feasibility. So let's look at what a graphite flake. Once you process it, again, we're using an average price, so if you look at the blended cost of what we could sell our graphite coming out of the Molo right now, based on the P study, which again is not enhanced, but will be with the bankable, we can get about $1,500 per ton. So you can see excellent margins. Our cost right now to extract that graphite and process it is $418 all in, and again, excellent margins. If you want to go ahead and try and upsell that, you spherically cut it, and you can automatically get about $3,000 for your ton of graphite. 81% of our graphite qualifies for the shape and size needed to go and put that into spherical cutting. Then you purify it. Once you purify it, you can get even more for your graphite, about $4,500 a ton. Again, while we can get almost 98% purity, the closer you are to 99.9% with basic processing, the cheaper it is to get to 99.9. So we should expect to be very economical to go to battery grade. And again, 100% of our project qualifies for that. And then the last step is to coat it, and then you can get very, very high prices per ton for selling your graphite to the battery world. So that's our intention in terms of the value-added side. We also have done a lot of background work. We have very good expertise in place. We have partnered with Africa's largest mine development, construction, and engineering company. So DRA can actually build, is contracted to build our mine. DRA sits on our board of directors, and DRA has an operating division called Monopex. They are contracted to run our mine. So we are the only graphite company that we know of that has our miners and operators already in place. We also contracted the world's largest mining company. We have already figured out the logistics to take the graphite out of the ground and get it to an ocean port. So that was done by Panalpina. Panalpina has excellent infrastructure. They are one of the largest. They have knowledge in Madagascar, and they've calculated full contracted trucking, $105 per ton, right out to the coast, FOB ship. So again, this is contracted pricing. We can look at lowering this very easily by doing the trucking ourselves. That'll be part of the bankable feasibility. But currently, there's ocean ports right now. We're very close to the coast, about 130 kilometers. It's a direct, flat, regional road system right out to the coast. And in the area right now, you can see a lot of opportunity, a lot of expansion of projects around us. There's Glencore with limestone, there's titanium sands, and a very large coal project. All of them have their mining permits to go into construction at some point, so a lot of activity going around the southern part of Madagascar. We have been in Madagascar now since 2007. Our company has spent over $25 million developing its side, so we have very good knowledge. We have developed 2 world-class resources. We have a 43101 compliant resource of graphite, obviously. We also have what's ranked as the 3rd largest vanadium deposit in the world. We have operated through 3 governments. You may have been following the news, but Madagascar just elected, democratically elected, a new president just recently, about 3 days ago. It's now been blessed by the UN, by the African Union, and you're starting to see a lot of now huge aid money pouring back into the country. And we've been operating flawlessly through these governments. And we have very, very tight relationships with the government. We meet with the current Prime Minister, Minister of Mines on almost a quarterly basis. So again, in Madagascar, very strategic. This is the United States Embassy, which we're listed. We're actually domiciled in the United States, even though we're a Canadian company, so we have access to the United States Embassy. And again, very strategic for the United States. The 3 largest embassies in Madagascar, and these are the largest buildings, by the way. It's the Russian Embassy, the Chinese Embassy, the United States Embassy. So very strategic area for mineral wealth for a lot of countries. And when you always talk about a mineral, you have to talk about the elephant in the room. What about China? China currently produces about 70% of the world's graphite. It has very high supplies of quality of flake graphite, which are now declining. Their domestic demand for graphite is going up. And right now, China is viewed as the undisputed low-cost producer in the world for many minerals. Graphite's no exception. And right now, global producers, if you are buying graphite, you are definitely buying it from China, and a lot of people do not want to do that. And again, they have a lot of rising costs with labor. We went personally to China. Energizer's management went there, visited the top 4 graphite mines, and we found out that our operating costs of $418 competes directly with Chinese operating costs. So we're in the low range, which is excellent. Again, I'll emphasize these are not optimized numbers. We expect to be able to improve upon that 418 when we release our bankable feasibility in Q4 of this year. We've been very proud in the last year. We've hit all of our milestones. Right now, with the check marks, that's what we've accomplished. In less than 2 years, we've gone down from discovery of this asset all the way to initiating our bankable feasibility. So where we are right now, as I mentioned, we have completed our pilot plant. We are now initiated the bankable feasibility, and we already have management on the ground. We are now initiating as well our environmental impact assessment studies, which is exactly what you do at this time in your mine cycle. So again, we're looking at full-scale production about Q2 of 2016. So a very aggressive target, and we are on track to hit that. So our company right now is an exploration company. That's our core competency. We do it very well. We've found 2 very large assets. We're now evolving ourselves into a mine development company. Very strong board. I won't go through this in much detail, but we have now put together a very strong team, both in the political, the technical, the legal, as well as the geotechnical and management strength. This is the team that is able to take this now to a mine. Let me point out a few individuals. Our chairman of the board is Mr. Peter Harder. He is the ex-foreign deputy minister of the Canadian government. He has served now 30 years experience with the Canadian government, and he will oversee all the governmental policy matters for us as we move this mine into production. So a very, very good person for us to have in terms of our relations with the government. We've also just recently hired a senior VP for mine operations. Robin Borley is an engineer. He has experience opening coal mines. He has experience in opening mines in Africa. And just so happened to be that Robin was our qualified person who did the P study, worked for DRA as a senior director, has left them and joined us full time. So we have in-depth knowledge from the DRA side now on our side, helping us move this thing through. So we have an on-staff engineer. Robin is based in Africa. We also just recently completed a financing of about $8 million. We have a treasury now of $10 million. This will allow us to move forward with the bankable feasibility. That was done by GMP, which now secures, for the first time ever for Energizer, third-party analyst coverage, which is coming in the next 3 to 4 months. As part of that recent financing, this is now our new shareholder base. Every single shareholder that participated in the $8 million was a current shareholder. That was Dundee Resources, who's now 10% of the company, VR Capital, AGF, and DRA. And the new entrant for us is JP Morgan, took 8% of our company in this last financing. So that's very, very proud for us to secure that. So the graphite sector, what's going on there? It's been a bit of a bruised sector lately. Again, lots of noise, lots of confusion happening. 2 years ago, there was 20 companies with 32 projects. Today, there's 70 companies with over 176 graphite projects. It's a constantly changing message. What's more important? Purity. You're hearing about what's veins more important. You're hearing about flake. And again, that just adds to a lot of confusion out there. There's a tremendous amount of misleading information that's being put out about graphite and graphite companies, etc. So again, it's very confusing. There's reduced prices, and there's a severe lack of advanced projects moving forward. But the graphite project's also a very bright sector. The world needs more graphite mines. Demand from traditional applications, i.e. steel and battery, is not going away. It's very strong. Demand for the high-tech applications are exploding. Electric vehicles, it's a question, I believe, of when, not if. Again, all that's predicated right now on lithium batteries. There's almost no penetration of electric vehicles. Look at the success of Tesla. 1 million Teslas on the road would require about 4 graphite mines to come into production just to supply those 1 million vehicles. No new graphite mines have been built in the last 15 years, and like any mineral, very few graphite companies will make it. To quote one geologist, I believe, who said it, there's lots of pretenders, very few contenders. Energizer is a contender. We are well positioned to be first mover advantage, and again, there's other companies out there who are very advanced. Energizer has done a very good job catching up to some very good companies, but there's very few of us. So we've put together a very tight team. We've got the resource, we've got the people to build the mine, to run the mine, we've got the logistics all sorted out. You may have read our press release if you've been following us that we also have financial partners who will help us with the debt that's been secured, so Caterpillar and a very large bank to be announced down the road, and our offtake agreements and strategic partners are in progress. That's one of the big elements for us when we did the pilot plant, was we generated those large tonnage samples. Those samples have been sent out to strategic partners and end users for evaluation, and those are now in progress. So the right product, we have a world-class resource, we have proven metallurgy, we are ideally located not only in Madagascar, but to the world's largest markets for graphite, and we have a management team that has a strong track record in execution. When you look at us in terms of our peers, and this is what I consider to be the leaderboard, in terms of the ones I put on there are the ones who have P studies, have proven metallurgy, so shareholders like yourself can go in there and actually evaluate us apples to apples and see what's happening. So when you look at our peer group against the certain metrics of MPV or IRR, the market cap, Energizer is an undervalued asset. So we're positioning ourselves right now. Our mines plan to be open in a couple of years. We are not predicating our production on any of the future markets that are not yet manifested. All of our numbers are all predicated on us going towards today's market for graphite. If any of these exciting markets manifest, which I know they will in the next 5-10 years, who knows, we'll be ready for it. Our project's extremely scalable and it'll meet everything. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for listening. And if you have any other questions, I'll answer them outside that. Thank you.